Hi there, and thanks for joining. If you're new here, I'm Wendy, and this is Nina's Jewels. My husband and I buy things at places like garage sales, flea markets, thrift stores, just about anywhere we can find things to sell online and flip for a profit. If that's content you're interested in, you're in the right place. Today's video is going to be what sold for the week of July 23rd through 29th. Let's get started. The first thing that sold was a 2019 Squishmallows. It was a 12-inch version that was the stackable kind. This one was a pink rainbow unicorn. We had picked this up at the Reseller garage sale where we got a bunch of stuff in a bulk stack and then broke down our cost per item as $3.28. This Squishmallow sold for $19.99, which was our full asking price, and we got positive feedback on it. Next up was a brand new in package pack of 40 adhesive name tags. They said, "You are a star," and then had like rainbow stars across the bottom. They were really cute. We got these in the Goodwill Bins. We paid 94 cents for them, and they sold on best offer for $10 even. And we got positive feedback on these as well. Next up was something else we got in the Goodwill Bins. And if you watched our videos previously, you know that our Goodwill Bins get a lot of unsold merchandise from places like Joann and Hobby Lobby, and I'm sure that's where this came from. But this was a 25 pack of white pipe cleaners. We paid 67 cents for these, and they sold on offer to buyer for $7.18. Next up was something we got at the thrift store. We paid $1 for it, and it sold for $19.99, and it was this Giftable World brand 9-inch teddy bear, and the teddy bear had on a sweatshirt that said, "I love Santa Fe." And we had just picked it up because it was brand new with tags. I think we have another one that says like "I love New York" or something like that that hasn't sold yet. Next up was another item we got at that same thrift store, and it is a brand new sealed VHS of The Mask of Zorro. This we also got at the thrift store, and we paid 27 cents for it. It only sold for $7.48. The thing with sealed VHS is sometimes it is worth a lot and sometimes it's not. But one thing you do want to look for with sealed VHS is whether or not it has a watermark on the plastic seal. That is something that will definitely increase the value. And I've learned now to write the word watermark in the title. That definitely will help your listing get more visibility. Next up was something that belonged to us and we no longer used. In fact, I don't know if we even ever used it because I'm not sure it was compatible with our TV after we bought it. And then we kept it thinking maybe it would be compatible with a later TV and ended up never using it. But this was a Roku HDMI streaming stick. And so it was essentially new in the box. We had never really used it. It sold for $20.01 on best offer, which is a really weird amount, but that's how much they offered and we accepted it. And I don't remember how much we paid for it. We had had it for, maybe 4 years or something like that. Maybe even longer. Gosh, we had had it for a long time. Next up was another item we found in the Goodwill Bins. This What Sold video is very Goodwill Bins heavy. This was a 2-disc set. Both of them were brand new sealed. The brand was Transparent Language, and it was Learn French Now. So it was an educational CD set for a PC. It was a CD-ROM set for a PC. And what we found is that anytime we come across something that is a CD, cassette, PC game, PC, media, that type of item that is an educational thing, or more specifically even language learning. Language learning items tend to be good sellers for us. We always pick them up, whether they're used or new, because those items sell. This we picked up for 92 cents in the bins, and it sold on offer to buyer for $11.98. We got positive feedback on it. I think ours did better than some of the other listings that I saw because we had both the original Learn French Now CD and the bonus CD. And a lot of the other listings just had one CD or the other. And I don't know how in the Goodwill Bins, because they were not packaged together. They were just separate CDs. We managed to find both of them and they were both sealed. That when you find something like that in the Goodwill bins, I always think like it's a miracle. A miracle has happened. Next up was something that belonged to us. These were some boots that my husband had gotten many, many years ago at a sample sale. So he, might have paid $3 at the time he picked them up. And then he wore them a few times and just decided he didn't need them anymore. The brand was Caterpillar. They were black leather lace-up work boots. They didn't have steel toes or anything like that. So they weren't like super high end, but they were really nice work boots, and he did not wear them that many times. So those sold on offer to buyer for $35.98, and those also sold very fast. We got positive feedback on those as well. So weird, because on some what sold videos, when I'm making my spreadsheet for it, I'll notice that we have gotten tons of positive feedback that particular week. And then other weeks, like nobody's given us any feedback at all. So I don't really know why that is, but this particular week we had gotten tons of positive feedback. So I like that. Although I'd rather have no feedback rather than negative feedback. Next up was something that we got from the other business that we own, which is a custom picture frame shop. And this is a vintage Ducks Unlimited print. We have many of these. These are signed and numbered prints, and we have a lot of this particular print. But several of them, unfortunately, became damaged. And where they were stored, the edges of them got a little bit damp. And so we have disclosed that in the listing, and we're selling them for a very discounted price. This one sold for $39.99, which normally if you had this particular print in like pristine condition, I think it would sell maybe around $100 or something. So $39.99 for this print is really, really low, but it does have significant damage, and we disclosed that in the listing. Next up was an Alice in Wonderland clamshell Disney CD, a Disney VHS. Oh my gosh, I went all over the place there. This, we tested it and it worked. It was in really good condition. In fact, I think I listed it as like new. It sold for $10.99, which goes to show you that those Disney clamshell VHS are just pretty much worthless. Don't bother picking them up. But it sold for $10.99, and we had picked it up at a garage sale for 57 cents. We got like a box of them for a bulk rate. That's why the amount is weird. Next up is something that belonged to my daughter, and that is a 2010 My Little Pony Pinkie Pie pony that it was a big pony. It was like this big. And then it had a bunch of accessories that went with it, like a saddle and some shoes and hair clips and all that kind of stuff. And so that sold for $22.99 and went somewhere, I can't remember where, through the global shipping program. And we got positive feedback on that as well. Next up was something that we got in the B-Stock liquidation palette. And if you have watched any of our videos in the past, you know that we spent about a little over $3,000 on a liquidation palette, and our cost per item or per listing broke down to $47.18, which is a lot because some of the items' value did not even come close to that. But, we're trying to look at the big picture when it comes to the palette and just look at the end goal of how much profit we're going to make in the end. So I do have a value to this item assigned as $47.18. But these were just wall mount brackets for a Vizio sound bar, and they did not have much value, and they only sold for $11.18. So clearly, if you're looking at this in a very small scale way, we did not make any profit, but we're trying to look at the palette on a bigger scale. But if you want to check out our palette video, I will link that above and in the description box below. Next up was a really cool pickup. We picked up these two vintage 1978 coloring books. They were coloring books of great composers. And I think only one page was colored out of one book, and then the other one was completely uncolored. So we disclosed that, and we sold those for $16.99, which was our full asking price, and we had picked those up for just $1 at an estate sale. I just thought those were really neat looking, so I picked them up. I didn't comp them or anything. I was just like, oh, I'm going to grab these. Because for $1, I mean, you can risk it. And we got positive feedback on those. Next up was a pair of Ben Hogan men's golf shorts. They had the UV protection in them. We got these at a thrift store. We paid $2.16, and they sold for $16.48 on offer to buyer. Next up was another item we got at that same thrift store. My husband had picked this up out of the cart as they were pushing it out to stock the shelves. It was a vintage book called The Child's World. It was from 1959, and it was a hardback book. He just picked it up on gut instinct. He didn't comp it or anything. He just thought it looked like something somebody would want. And when we comped it, it was something that was selling well. And that sold for $29.99, and he had paid just $1.03 for it. We got positive feedback on that. Next up was a Vince Camuto brand women's layered look tank top. Had kind of a watercolor print. We got this at the Reseller garage sale. We paid $3.28 for it, and it sold for $21 even on best offer. And we got positive feedback on that. Next up is a vintage brand that I don't think is as well known, and I don't think it moves as fast. Sometimes, I guess it depends on the style, but this is something that I wore when I was in like middle school, and it's called Jean Ewing Beast, and they made a lot of denim items. And I guess it was probably in the late 80s, mid to late 80s when this was in fashion. And my husband picked this up at the thrift store and brought it over to me and was like, is this something? Because the tag looked interesting to him. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I remember wearing that. So we picked it up because I knew it was vintage. And it did take a little while to sell, but it sold for $38 even on best offer, and we had paid just $1.89 for it. So I don't have any other experience in selling this brand other than this one item, but if I ever saw it again in the thrift store, I would probably pick it up to see how it did again. If you have any experience selling this brand, let us know in the comments below. Next up was something that belonged to my husband. It's a 1995 Magic the Gathering Ice Age rule book. This sold for $6.99. We have sold many of these, and we have several more to sell. Next up was a J. Crew eyelet lace navy dress. We got this at a thrift store for $4, and it sold on best offer for $27.99. Next up was a set of 2 resin hummingbird ornaments or decor. You could, hang them on a Christmas tree, or you could hang them in your window or something like that. These were gifted to me from a family member to sell, and so I didn't have any cost associated with them, and they sold for $15.50 on best offer, and they sold pretty quickly. Next up was something we got at a garage sale. We paid just $1 for it, and it was a Logitech cordless keyboard, and it was supposed to have a cordless mouse with it, but the mouse had, I don't know, you'll probably know what I'm talking about, but when something that's made out of like that black plastic or rubber material starts to get old and decompose, is that the right word? But starts to wear away, it gets that like stickiness to it. And that mouse had that stickiness to it where when you touch it, that black stickiness comes off on your hand. Anyway, that had that. So we threw the mouse away and disclosed that it didn't include the mouse. And it still sold very, very quickly for $35.98 through the global shipping program. It went to Canada, and we got positive feedback on it. And like I said, we had just paid $1 for it. So that was a really good pickup. Next up was a small, it was about this big, 4-inch, hand-carved holiday wooden nativity scene. It came from Israel. We had gotten this at an estate sale. We paid 81 cents for it. It was marked 75 cents, and then we had paid tax on it. And it sold for $17.98 very quickly on offer to buyer. Next up was a little travel size bottle of makeup fixative by, I'm probably going to butcher this brand name, but I think it's Lise Wattier. I don't speak French. It sold for $9.99. I didn't have any cost associated with it because it was included in my Birchbox, and I use a lot of stuff out of my Birchbox, but this was not something I was going to use, so I just listed it and it sold quickly. Next up was something we got at a garage sale. It was a men's size extra large official men's Boy Scout shirt from the Longhorn Council, which is the local council to our area. That sold for $30 even on best offer, and we had paid just $2 for it. It did have like a tiny little stain on it, which we disclosed, but it sold quickly. Next up was not a good purchase for us. It was a pair of Harley Davidson's jeans, but they had some kind of flaw on them. I don't remember what the flaw was. I don't remember if it had like some wear on the hems or if it had a stain on it. We didn't figure that out till after we brought it home. And we had paid $5 for those at a garage sale, and they ended up only selling for $15. So we didn't have a lot of profit in those. Not a good pickup. Next up was a lot of 2 Lululemon reusable tote bags. Those we got at the Goodwill outlet. I think we have picked up Lululemon tote bags at the Goodwill outlet multiple times, and they always sell for us. Those we paid 67 cents for, and they sold for $16.99, which was our full asking price. And last up was a pair of Kate Spade. They were called Broome Street Black Apple Print Skinny Jeans. So they were black jeans, and they had like white apples all over them. They were so cute. And I picked those up at a thrift store for $9.10. They sold with our 30% off promotion, I think, for $33.59. So we did make profit on those, but it wasn't as much as I was hoping it would be. I would still pick them up again, I think, but $9.10 was a lot. I'd probably wait for those to go on half price sale. And last but not least, I always go over the collectible cards that we sold from my husband's personal collection. This particular week, we only had cards that were valued at $10 and under, so I'll go over those in a group. We sold 7 cards in total for a total value of $17.13. So that wraps up our sales for the week of July 23rd through 29th. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you give us a like. And if you're not already subscribed to our channel and you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the subscribe button with the notification bells turned on so you can be kept informed of all of our latest content. Thank you so much for joining. Check out the information in our description box below. There's all kinds of information down there about how you can support our channel in other ways. And stay tuned for more videos, including a video coming up soon about how we purchased a storage unit. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the flip side.